Hello and welcome back to Gunfire Reborn. I have a lot of friends and viewers that haven't played the game in a while or are just starting out and getting lost in all the new mechanics that get introduced when you make it to reincarnation mode, the end game of Gunfire. I want to make a short series to help parse things out and show you all the cool stuff you can do. In this video, we're going to talk about the seasonal content as of Season 2 and explain what the devs seem to be doing, so make sure to stay until the end so that you can learn a fast way to rank up your rewards. I'm Eotidiss, the shapeshifter from another dimension, and I'll be your guide today for Gunfire's second season, Destiny Mechanism. First off, what is the seasonal stuff? Well, so far the devs have made the seasons accessible in Nightmare mode and Reincarnation mode, which means you need to beat Normal or Elite before getting to play any of it yourself. That is, unless you have friends that can host a lobby for you to get in early. The seasons seem to be like a free battle pass, where you get rewards for doing in-game challenges which unlock cosmetic items for your account. If you want to look at the full list, you can see it on the main menu or in the in-game lobby here. You have this for Destiny Mechanism, or if you're in lobby, it's up here. Here, you can see each of the reward tiers, all of the quests that help you unlock those tiers, and a breakdown of the mechanics involved in that season. Make sure to hit claim to get your things unlocked so that you can use them on your profile. A really cool move by the devs was to make a store where you can use Soul Essence, the meta progression currency, to buy rewards from previous seasons. If you missed out on something and want to still get it, you can just go to the Season Store tab on the Reward tab and grab what you want. With that, why don't we jump into a game? In the lobby, you need to be on Nightmare or Reincarnation before the season activates. If you look up here, it says unavailable, don't mind the typo, under Nightmare levels. So we're going to go to Reincarnation, and I'm just going to leave it on Reincarnation 1, and I'm going to play as my favorite character, Laylo, the Lightning Sniper, and let's jump into it. Once you load in, you're given a choice of 3 mechanisms. These are special devices that can add a lot of power to your runs and have a surprising level of customizability. Each one has an activation and a deactivation, which might require some rebinding of keys for you if the defaults are hard to use. I know I had to change mine, so keep that in mind. Each also has their own energy resource that will spend in order to perform actions, which recovers over time. Let's go over each. First, Datura shoots a flower out in a straight line in front of you, stopping on collision with a wall or an enemy. It will stay stuck to whatever it hits and start emitting pollen smoke. The pollen will stack on an enemy, doing damage multiplied by the number of stacks. I get the most value out of Datura in 2 situations: throwing it at an enemy spawn or on an elite/boss. The AoE pollen does a nice job of killing like weak enemies, the bombers, the beetles, stuff like that, as they come spawning out, and it softens up the bigger enemies that have shields and armor, or just a whole lot of life. When stuck to an elite or a boss, it ramps up in damage really quickly from all of that pollen stacking on it, and it helps burn through some of the harder phases of the fight if you use it correctly. I feel like this mechanism is very useful and requires just a little bit of micromanaging. It's easy to just throw down in a spot and forget about it until it runs out of energy, or you can squeeze more efficiency out of it by recasting it and dismissing it throughout combat. Next up is the Hound. It's a turret that follows you around, shooting at enemies that get close to it. You can command it to be stationary at a position like known as Iron Wing, which uses less energy per shot. This guy is just a powerhouse of bonus damage. While you don't have direct control over its pathing, it seems to do a good job of staying in the fray and attacking enemies. I feel like this one hardly ever runs out of energy under normal circumstances and is pretty reliable in taking care of fodder that treads too close to you. However, unlike Iron Wing, the Hound doesn't draw aggro on itself. Enemies don't treat it as real.
That mother back there is not real!
And it won't body block them or pull enemies off of you. On top of that, it attacking enemies does pull aggro for you, the player. If you go into a vault or a room with enemies already spawned inside, your Hound might shoot first and wind up having all the enemies shoot at you before you expect it, so be careful. Otherwise, I'd say he's a very good boy. Last is the Matrix. You throw up a laser shield that blocks projectiles, buffs your projectiles, and hurts enemies that try to pass through it. This thing does it all. It protect, it attack, but mostly it energy sap. I feel like this mechanism has the power to be the strongest one in the lineup, but I also feel like it's the one that requires the most management. This thing chews through energy when getting hit by projectiles because of the energy drain being a percentage of the damage dealt. When playing on the higher difficulties, that could be a sizable chunk. However, this thing also can be used as a melee attack, throwing it at enemies that get near you to slow them and deal massive damage. Dealing damage with it both by shooting through it and having enemies touch it doesn't cost extra energy like blocking projectiles does, so you can throw it out and dismiss it in rapid succession to get a lot out of it. Like I said though, this one requires a lot of effort to use in comparison to the Datura and especially the Hound. If you take this one, it can feel like you're building around it more than complementing your playstyle. Yet, I can't deny that it seems incredibly useful. Melee characters basically have pocket sand they can throw in an enemy's face to slow them down and hurt them, and a longer range player can sit behind the shield and reap the benefits of the bonus damage as well as being able to block some incoming shots. If you hover over the options, you'll see a prompt for the hero core that this mechanism gives. Cores are modifiers for your device that lets you tailor them to your needs, and the hero cores are unique to your hero you're playing as well as the device that you choose. Keep in mind you will not have this core to start with. You will find it later in the run. Speaking of which, after you select your device, you can now open up your inventory and go to the Destiny Mechanism tab and check your full page of cores. So let's do that now. I'm going to take the Matrix for this, just to show this. This is for Laylo, don't worry about that. And here we go. Just like character ascensions, you'll see that most of these have 3 tiers to them. And just like scrolls, they come in different rarities. Throughout the run, there will be times when you're rewarded with a core. This will either unlock a new one or raise the tier of one you currently have. By the end of the run, you'll probably have at least one of each, but don't expect to have all of them maxed out. The general cores are the same between each of the devices and are what you start out with on a new run. The exclusives are pretty simple and similar between the devices, but slightly changed to suit them. Mutually repulsive cores are entirely unique to that mechanism and can only have one of them from this category active at a time. The hero core, as mentioned before, is unique to the character you're playing as well as the device you chose. On the right side, you can see that there's 6 slots, 3 open and 3 closed. This is where you slot your cores. You can freely change these at any time without worrying about losing anything. See, you just put them on and take them off, no problem. It's not like expendable or anything like that. After defeating an act boss, one of the lock slots will open up, allowing you to have more cores active at one time. You can also see the stats for your device up here in the top right. Now, I can already hear a lot of you looking at this and going, wow, that is a lot to take in, and I get that, especially if you're just getting into reincarnation for the first time. In that case, I think it's probably best to just take the Hound, as it's something that manages itself very well without the player having to do much at all. That way you can minimize the number of things you have to manage until you get a solid footing. Just take whatever make damage number bigger, and you'll be happy that you did. For anyone that wants to get a little bit more out of it, let's talk about some of the ways the device can complement your run. First, let me direct your attention to the last 3 general core slots. These will give extra primary uses, secondary uses in ammo, or dashes after spending some energy. If you're on a run that is heavily reliant on any of those, it can be awesome to have your device feeding your character extra uses of those to keep you going before ever getting scrolls to fill that void. This is especially good for those using their devices enough to constantly drain energy from them. Look for cores that increase your energy regen, but also make your device spend more energy to make the most of this ability. If you are on a run that's gotten you huge health and shield bonuses, you might want to look into Defense Component. It will give you a little bit of extra flat health and shield bonus, but also increase based on energy generation. If you have another core giving generation like Energy Component, you can pump those numbers up even higher. The higher your energy generation, the more stacks you get. Look for components that really boost your energy restore rate and try to play into that in order to get even bigger stats. If you look down here, you've got all of your buffs for your character. If you ever want to hover over these, hit C to bring up your stats menu, and then as it says there, display mouse pointer with a right click. I'll hold right click while still holding C, and you can hover down here onto the stacks that Defense Component is giving us. If I get rid of the energy component, you'll see my energy restore is only 5. So that means if I'm getting 60% of my energy restoration added to my shield and armor, that's going to be 3. 60% of 5 is 3. And it does that for 5 seconds. 3 times 5 is 15. So I'll have 15 stacks, which gives me an extra 15 shield and armor and HP. If I add on energy component, that raises it up to a 6, which makes it 3.6. 3.6 times 5 is going to be 18. And if you give it a moment to generate that energy, you'll see that slowly tick up to 18. And now I have plus 18 shield and armor and HP. Outside of that, you can always get a fair bit of damage by taking siege, enhancement, and expansion components to start with. The siege component just gives extra damage to elites, bosses, and dimensional portals. The enhancement gives extra damage and more damage for every point of energy capacity that you have, and expansion gives you extra energy capacity to just help with getting more damage. If you take these 3, it'll help you get going a little bit faster and start into your run with a bit more impact to it. But that should give you a foothold in where to take your device throughout the run. The last thing to talk about with this season is the new event that you can run into during your run called Dimensional Portals. The idea is simple. A crystal-like structure will activate when you get close to it. You have to destroy it in order to succeed, but it will be spawning enemies the whole time. So you have to try to focus down the portal before getting overwhelmed by enemies. In a way, it kind of acts like a DPS check, because if you can't kill it faster than it makes enemies, you're going to be drowning in mobs. Datura, the flower mechanism, I think handles this the best because you can just throw it on there and it'll damage the portal the whole time, and any enemies that spawn near it will also get hurt by it. I'm going to show you what that looks like. We've got this portal here right now. If I let it just sit there, you'll hear the little sound effect of it spawning in an enemy. This is a wave room, so don't get it twisted. Some of those are just enemies spawning in. Alright, see it lighting up, and then it spawns in a dark face bandit there. So I'm gonna just get close here. I'm doing a Thunder Nemesis build with this one, so I just press F and things die around me. And you'll see it occasionally spawn in more things. Here comes another one. I don't know if I instantly... Oh, there it is. It just spawned in another little bandit there. And there we go. We destroyed it. The event's over. And you'll notice that it dropped a purple crystal like you do with other events. If you get close to it, it always contains one of the cores. So you'll always get one of your core upgrades out of that. As a side note, while I haven't personally tested it yet, I'm sure that you can also use these events to farm kills for certain buffs and scrolls and ascensions. Getting more stacks on Dual Edge, Veteran, and whatnot can be easier to get if you let the portal sit open and just kill things coming out of it, much like people do with the Beetle Elite early on. Try it out for yourself. Let me know in the comments if you get any success. Now that you have a game plan, how are we going to get all of those delicious rewards from the season task list? Well, if you look over the list, you can get an idea for the kinds of things that you need to do. Many of these things require you to get wins with different devices, make you get and try different cores, or get achievements with specific characters. However, a lot of them are just grinds. Kill enemies, get scrolls, open chests, consume energy. Yeah, look at this one, like kill 2,000 enemies within 10 meters. It's just gonna take a little while to get those done. If you want to knock a lot of them out, just go into Boundless Dream modifier and reincarnation for your lobby and get into Endless mode. In Boundless Dream, the game doesn't end at you beating the boss. You infinitely loop for as long as you can survive. You can get more scrolls more reliably, you can get higher levels of gun enhancements, and more opportunities to get all of that grinding done without having to restart over and over again. If you have the talent to recycle scrolls at the bottom of the resource talent tree, you can also get a bonus to your damage for each scroll that you recycle, which allows you to scale with increased difficulty. I'm on a Boundless Dream right now, and you can see right now I have 0 bonus weapon damage, skill damage, and primary cooldown. But if I just sell this one, then I get 1 stack of it, and now I have 2% weapon damage and 10% skill damage. So as you sell scrolls, you'll be able to stack this up a bit more and get a little bit farther into the Endless. So you and a couple of friends can knock out most of your seasonal tasks with one solid Endless run, along with stacking up your soul essence banks and finishing up your talent trees or buying last season's goodies. Hopefully this video was helpful to you. If it was, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more Gunfire and other game guides in the future. If you've got your own stories or advice for devices this season, go ahead and let the people know about it down below. But until next time, remember to take care of yourself and take care of those around you. Bye-bye.
Bye.